Christian, I'm really disappointed. I'm really disappointed.
On T Nation, there was recently an article called "Your TRT is a Steroid Cycle." Danny and I will discuss this TRT versus steroids.
Hey guys, again, welcome to the TRT and Hormone Optimization YouTube channel. I'm Danny Bossa, and joined with my partner in Belgium, Dr. Steven Devos. How are you, Steven?
I'm fine, Danny. How are you?
Good. Today's video, we see a lot of strange stuff online, and it's interesting how when you start off in TRT, you wind up in certain forums, you wind up maybe following certain people on YouTube, or you wind up, who are the popular guys, who are the ones that look jacked, who are the ones that look a certain way. And I had a lot of people that I kind of looked up to when I started out. I didn't know too much. I won't give out too many names. I think a lot of you already know who those people are. And one of them that I used to read a lot about, because at the time I thought his articles were really good, was Christian Thibaudeau, who's actually a fellow Quebecer. He works for T Nation, and outside of coaching and nutrition and all this kind of stuff, he writes articles for T Nation. And he wrote an article lately. I printed it out. Steven, if you can remind me
it's called Unpopular Opinion, Your TRT is a Steroid Cycle.
Right. I read through it, and now, I think if I would have read this when I started off, I would have believed every word. But it's funny when you start learning about things and how about things work, and you can demonstrate how these things work, and you can provide evidence how these things work, that sometimes you read these kinds of articles and they're a little bit on the laughable side. So I'm kind of disappointed, and I'm going to go through some key points of this article. I think I read through it and I started highlighting certain parts, and I found myself highlighting almost everything because most of it was just silly. So I'm going to read little excerpts of this article, and then I'm going to tell you what I think is wrong with them. So he starts off saying, a good percentage of men who are undergoing testosterone replacement therapy are fooling themselves. They think they're merely replacing the testosterone that's been lost to time and aging. Many of them, though, while they loathe to admit it, are actually on a mild steroid cycle. The average adult male produces 6 milligrams of testosterone per day, which is about 42 milligrams a week. And the normal production range from 5 to 10 milligrams a day. So even at the highest production level, we're only talking 70 milligrams a week. A replacement dose should therefore fall between 40 to 70 milligrams a week, up to roughly 90 milligrams a week. Christian Thibaudeau, I will give you in cash $5,000 if you take 40 milligrams a week of testosterone. You can use cypionate, you can use enanthate, either one that we're using in North America. I want you to try to take 40 milligrams a week. You can take a shot once a week, you can take it twice a week, you can take it daily, you can take it whichever way you want. And I want to ensure that's all you're taking nothing else. You're going to do labs every single week to ensure that that's all you're taking, right? Because the $5,000 I'm going to give you will cover all your labs, right? And I want you to stay on that dose for 6 months. And then when your wife or girlfriend leaves you and you wind up quitting your job and whatever else because you feel like crap, then you can call back and say, you know what, you have a point. You cannot take 40 milligrams a week of testosterone. You can't do it. You're basically chemically castrating yourself. You will wind up with less testosterone than when you started. 10 times out of 10, can't be done. And if anybody out there would like to prove to me that they're taking 40 milligrams a week and are symptom-free, I'm all ears, because I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. You also have to keep in mind that when you're taking a testosterone dose, it's not going to act the same as your endogenous production, okay? So the amount that you're making in the body, and you cannot compare it to the amount you're taking from an exogenous source. You also have to keep in mind that when you're taking 200 milligrams a week of test, there's also a portion of that which is the ester, and you wind up with an actual smaller amount of actual testosterone, and you got to worry about absorption, you got to worry about all this other type of factors. You cannot compare the two. Okay. He says that the dose would depend on many factors such as SHBG. Absolutely, SHBG will play a role. Albumin and aromatase. Aromatase is not going to play a factor in the amount you take for your weekly dose. It will not. I'm sorry, it will not. The issue is that many men have cajoled their doctors into giving them 200 to 300 milligrams a week, and that is actually a mild steroid cycle, not a testosterone replacement cycle, or testosterone replacement therapy. To the doctors out there and to Thibaudeau thinking that let's just put in that 5 milligrams a day that the body was making before, and we're just going to replace the levels. There's Dr. Stevens in the UK that just goes on and on and on about this with no evidence provided. We've had guys in the group that actually did it as an example. I mean, they didn't last very long. You cannot do it this way. Nobody is trying to just say, I'm going to put in precisely what was there and that's it. We are not doing anything based on labs. We are doing symptom resolution. End of story, symptom resolution. So I don't care what your levels were at. If you have all the symptoms of low testosterone and maybe on paper it says you've got healthy levels, well, guess what? You could probably do well with TRT and bring those levels a little bit higher. Okay, there's guys in the group or in a Facebook group that we're on, such as myself. I was measurably deficient. So I had levels lower than the range. And when I got on TRT, I felt better. There's also guys that had healthy levels. There's guys that had total testosterone levels of 800, had every single symptom imaginable, got their levels up higher to maybe 1,200, 1,300, sometimes 1,500, and suddenly everything's fine. Some of these guys had to go even higher. And we're not talking about guys that are like, you know, they're doing steroids or they're trying to get jacked. I'm talking like guys in their 60s, doctors even that were at, 1,800 and still had every symptom imaginable, and they got to 2,000, like, hey, everything suddenly works, and they drop back down and they feel like crap, and they bring it back up and they feel good. And these aren't guys that are trying to get jacked, okay? You cannot base it solely on labs. You're going to base it on symptoms. You're also not taking into account the fact of the bombardment of EDCs, the chemical phytoestrogens, the processed food, the hormones in the water, and all this stuff that is attaching to the receptors in the body. A lot of us need to take a much higher dose to overpower that and have symptom resolution. Okay, I'm a prime example of that. I took 200 milligrams a week of testosterone for the longest time, and I didn't feel good. I still had issues. I had to get it up to 250 milligrams. And even then, my total testosterone was only 1068. My free was at 28. And only then did I start feeling better. If I would take the 40 milligrams this guy is saying, I'd kill myself. There's no way that I would last longer than a few weeks or a couple months on that type of dose. So Thibaudeau, and I'm being genuine and sincere, I will pay you $5,000 in cash gladly, and we'll do it online if you take 40 milligrams a week of testosterone and for 6 months with nothing else demonstrated by labs every week, and that you feel good, because this is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. By the way, guys, I'm taking 250 milligrams a week of testosterone. Do I look like I'm on a cycle? Do I look like I'm on a cycle? And I exercise. I eat 3 times a day. We eat healthy. Do I look like I'm jacked on a cycle? I ain't jacked. I can tell you right now, I ain't jacked. So, no.
Christian looks jacked.
Sorry?
Christian looks jacked.
Christian looks jacked. And Christian sure as hell isn't taking 40 milligrams of testosterone a week, guys. Use your heads, okay? Even those of you, by the way, who think, well, if I take 500, I'll get jacked. I did an experiment. I took 500 milligrams a week of testosterone for a given amount of weeks. I kept eating the same. I had my breakfast, I had my lunch, I had my dinner, and I trained the same. Not much happened. The training and nutrition are so unbelievably important here. And if you think testosterone is just going to make you get huge, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. So basically, he says we're fooling the doctors into giving us more. I wanted to take the minimum amount required that made me feel good. In my case, it's 250. With other guys, it could be 150. With other guys, it could be 200. Okay? But to say I'm going to take 40 milligrams a week, or even the 70, he says 40 to 70 milligrams a week. I don't know anyone who takes 70 milligrams a week that's symptom resolution. I'm sorry, I just don't. he says, I know plenty of guys who went to doctors who were able to get a prescription for 200 to 300 milligrams a week simply by doing some Academy Award-winning acting. And they claim they just didn't feel like their old selves on meager doses of 100 or 150 milligrams a week. Christian, t'as pas de sens de quoi tu parles. Je m'excuse, je sais que t'es Québécois, mais tu comprends rien là-dedans. Comme tu comprends rien. When everyone's wondering what the hell I'm saying, I'm swearing at him in French. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I never went to my doctor when I was on 150 milligrams a week, just like a ton of other guys, trying to make it sound that I had symptoms when in fact I didn't. I felt like dog shit at 150 milligrams a week. I absolutely did. And I know a ton of guys that do. And I just wanted to feel better. And I'm not interested in getting jacked. Yes, I work out a couple of times a week and stuff like that, but I had no interest in getting jacked. I just wanted to feel good. I wanted my brain to work well. I wanted to have energy during the day. I wanted to have good libido and good erections and sleep well and maybe help with stress and all this type of stuff. And that was it. That was the goal. Whatever dose that is. If somebody said it was 50 milligrams, I took that, I felt good, then that's what I'm going to take, the 50 milligrams. To accuse people of saying that they were acting with their doctors to try to get the amount they needed to feel better, I'm sorry, it's just ridiculous. Goes on and on and on. Another section, he says, first understand that a 200 milligram dosage of testosterone cypionate does not actually contain 200 milligrams of pure testosterone. It's 140 of testosterone and 60 milligrams of ester. I don't remember if that's exactly the ratio, but let's just say that it's true. You're basically saying that somebody taking 200 is really only getting 60. So if he's getting 100, he's really only getting 30. So you're saying that guys should be getting 40 to 70. Well, to get 30, you need 100. So to get 70, you have to probably 50% more, maybe 150. So you're just contradicting exactly what you're saying in regards to how much you should be taking. Because he's saying to take 7 to 10 milligrams a day. Well, if 7 milligrams of a shot only actually contains about 4 milligrams or 5 milligrams or whatever it is, then I'm not getting the 7. I would have to jack up the dose. Anyway, he's contradicting himself in this very paragraph. He says blood levels of testosterone drop dramatically after a few days. As such, if blood levels are measured 4 days after injection, you get a misleading reading. It's even worse if the test occurs 8, 9, or 10 days later, in which case it will be barely higher than the patient's starting number. Duh! What happens? The first day, you take your shot. Let's just use the example of you're taking weekly injections, okay? I inject myself on the Monday with 200 milligrams of test. I'm going to measure, take my labs, on the following Monday morning prior to injection, so exactly a week later, right? I want to see what are my levels when they are at their lowest, okay? That's the whole point. You want to measure what are my levels when they are at their lowest. No, we're not taking a misleading reading here. He's making it sound like you should take your dose and then get your levels read the next day. They're going to show they're high. Why? Because you just took your damn dose. Of course they're going to show they're high. But that's great. You're high on the day after your injection and the second day of your injection. What about the rest of the week when the levels tank? What are your levels towards the end of the week? Well, if at the end of the week your levels are low, too low, and you feel like crap, well, guess what? You either have to raise your dose for the week, or maybe you have to take 2 weekly injections to keep your levels a little bit more stable. But that's the whole point of taking labs, is you don't want to check what were my levels at when they were at their highest, because when they're highest, chances are you feel good. What were my levels at when they were at their lowest? How do I take my TRT and how much do I need to take it? How often do I need to take it to ensure that on my lowest days, I'm at a given level where I feel good, okay? And he doesn't seem to be grasping this at all. And then he's accusing the doctors of then increasing the dose. And that's another reason why some doctors end up prescribing 200 milligrams or more a week. But he says 200 milligrams is not a replacement dose. It's an enhancement dose. Guess what, Christian? When I take 200 milligrams of testosterone a week, my testosterone is in the normal range. It's in the normal range. And guess what? The high end of normal range was a hell of a lot higher about a decade or even 15 years ago compared to it is today. So if you're going to use normal ranges, why is it that 10 or 15 years ago, the top of the range was 1600 NGDL, and now it's only 800 NGDL. The ranges have dropped down by almost half. So all those guys that were natural back then, I guess they're all on steroid cycles suddenly. Again, it's just, it's nonsense. He says, you know, if you put a lifetime natural guy, hard training guy on 300 milligrams of testosterone per week, I guarantee that he will progress much faster than he was natural. It depends. If the guy was super deficient in testosterone and did not have the tools required to grow because his testosterone was tanked, and you put him on 300, it's going to make a difference. If a natural guy already had healthy levels of testosterone and you put him on 300 milligrams a week, is it going to help him a bit? It'll help him a bit. Is he going to get jacked on it? Well, it's going to depend. How hard is he training? And what is his nutrition like, which are way more important than the actual testosterone. So that too, I find, I'm sorry now. Then he goes to say, I have nothing against people who use 200, 400, even 6,000 milligrams a week. You can do what you want with your body. And if you're smart about it, you can use testosterone very safely. Okay, well, you're condoning taking 40 milligrams a week. And I can guarantee you that virtually anybody I know that takes 40 milligrams a week will not feel well, okay? You're actually going to be doing them more harm than good. So I don't know if you're trying to convince people to take less and then they're going to not feel well and then say, see, testosterone isn't safe. I'm not quite sure what you're trying to accomplish here. Then he says, all I'm saying is that 200 to 300 milligrams of testosterone is not TRT. And by propagating the belief that 200 to 300 milligrams a week is TRT, where you're influencing people's perceptions, which can lead to some making bad decisions. Again, you are basing your argument on the dose. You are basing the argument on 200 milligrams a week. Well, guess what? On 200 milligrams a week, my free testosterone is about 22 NGDL. I know other guys on 200 milligrams a week that their free testosterone will be about 45 NGDL. We're taking the same dose, but his levels wind up a hell of a lot higher than mine. So what's relevant here? Is it the levels we're attaining or is it the dose? Well, guess what? The dose is kind of irrelevant. This guy winds up with twice the blood values of testosterone that I do, and we're taking the same dose. So the dose is irrelevant. What is relevant is where you're getting your levels to. Primarily your free testosterone levels. Where are they getting based on dose? If I'm taking 500 milligrams a week of testosterone and my free testosterone is only 20 NGDL and I have symptoms, I might have to take more. The dose is irrelevant. What are the levels that I'm getting? And I can guarantee you that if I had a free T of 20 on 500 milligrams a week, I won't be getting any gains in the gym. That's out of the question right there. Then he says, consider the people who take higher doses have an increased incidence of side effects like elevated hematocrit levels, fluid retention, gynecomastia, worsening of sleep apnea, polycythemia, and possible acceleration of benign or malignant prostate disease. Let's go through these really, really, really quick. Elevated hematocrit levels. I did an experiment taking 500 milligrams a week. My hematocrit was just fine. No issue there. There's guys that live at altitude that have high hematocrit levels 24/7 and they're not even on TRT. How come they're not dropping dead? We don't really know of anybody that has their hematocrit so high right now that it's causing an issue, because that's called erythrocytosis, which has gone over 1 million freaking times and has nothing to do with polycythemia vera. Yes, you can wind up with slightly thicker blood when you're on testosterone. Athletes actually welcome this. They take EPO to get their RBC levels up, which winds up with thicker blood. What happens that those blood cells transport more oxygen through the blood and actually provides a performance boost. So athletes are doing this and having no issue, but when we take testosterone now, we have to worry about it. That's funny. Fluid retention. Some guys, when they start testosterone replacement therapy, start with weekly doses, once a week. So they have this up and down fluctuation throughout the weight, and those fluctuating hormones can actually cause some fluid retention. When guys get their protocols dialed in properly, that fluid retention tends to go away. Anybody that even had a proper protocol right from the start and had fluid retention, it's just the fact that their bodies are getting used to this higher levels of testosterone, and that too will go away. Big deal is fluid retention. You can even take a mild diuretic. Your body will flush out that water, and guess what? It usually doesn't come back. So that's not an issue. Gynecomastia. I got gyno from prior to TRT when my estrogen levels were at 11 or 12, and my total testosterone was 228 NGDL. I got gynecomastia from inadequate and insufficient androgens. And the more I jacked up my testosterone, the better that gyno got. And the more my estradiol went up, the better my gyno got. So that's also a no. There's a lot of guys in the group taking very, very healthy levels of testosterone. They're either injecting frequently, they're using the twice daily transscrotal cream. No gyno issues there, okay? If you're going to start adding on a ton of synthetic compounds, you know, Christian, you are kind of a jacked guy. I doubt very much that all you ever did was testosterone. You probably delved into all these other things. Those can sometimes cause gyno. It is what it is. Even then, you'll get it if you're genetically prone to it. And if you're not genetically prone to it, you won't get it. Same there. Worsening of sleep apnea, not necessarily. Some guys do report feeling anxious on higher levels of testosterone. I am one of those. If I get my testosterone levels past a certain point, I feel I get anxious and feelings of even claustrophobia during the night, and only during the night, which is I know this is too much. I have to bring it down a little bit. Polycythemia. Christian, can you look into what polycythemia vera is? Because that is a kind of a cancer. It is a blood cancer. Testosterone from any freaking level imaginable will not cause polycythemia vera. So I don't know where you pulled this out of, okay? Testosterone replacement therapy or any amount of testosterone imaginable cannot cause polycythemia vera. It is a cancer of the blood. What is it? It's kind of like erythrocytosis where you have the elevated hematocrit hemoglobin, but you're adding a clotting issue, a clotting disorder, okay? They are not related, and erythrocytosis does not turn into polycythemia vera, all right? So you can rule that out. Acceleration of benign or malignant prostate disease. Guess what? We do a ton of videos with Dr. Jordan Grant, who's a urologist, who is an expert in the prostate, and he's actually seeing prostate improvement with guys on testosterone and not anything going wrong. So everything that's said here is demonstrably false, Christian. Literally everything you've said here is demonstrably false. I don't know if it's fear-mongering. I think I know why when I'm going to get to the end of this, but whatever. You then follow up to say it's controversial. Okay, fine. You then say, I should also acknowledge that many men use testosterone patches or gels instead of administering injections. These generally represent more appropriate dosing protocols. Case in point, patches deliver 4 to 5 milligrams per day. Gels are dosed at 40 to 50 milligrams per day. But the bioavailability of the gels is 10 to 15%, which makes the daily dose equivalent to 4 to 7 milligrams. That's well within the realm of legitimate T replacement. Guess what, Christian? When I started my TRT, I'm just going to use me as an example, but I can probably find you 1,000 more because this is commonplace and we see it all day long in our Facebook group. I started with the androgel. Remember androgel, the 5%, and you rub it on, whatever. Because I was scared to death of needles. I sure as hell did not want to take a needle. So I started off with 5, and then I would go up to 10, and then I went up to 15. And no matter what I did with these gels, I wasn't feeling good. And I really, really wanted to feel good because the doctor said that if I don't feel good with that, I'm going to have to go to injections. And I really, really, really didn't want to take the injection. So trust me, I was slathering that stuff on everywhere. And I even tried cream slathering on everywhere. Later, we learned that the transscrotal cream was a lot better. I eventually had to get on injections. Started at 100 milligrams a week, did nothing. Went to 150 milligrams a week, did nothing. Went to 200 milligrams a week. Starting to feel better on 200 milligrams a week. It stayed there for quite some time, still had issues. It was only when I got my dose at 250 milligrams a week, in my case, that I feel better. So again, this 4 to 7 milligram a day, it's silly. It's silly. Then you say, I'm not a doctor, much less an endocrinologist. That we'll have to agree. However, my opinion about what is the best TRT approach sides with the late Dr. John Chrysler, which is 7 to 10 milligram of subcutaneous per day. No, I spoke to John Chrysler many times. He wasn't doing the 7 to 10 milligrams a week, okay, milligrams a day daily, okay? He coached me twice when I started out, and he sure as hell wasn't saying that. Maybe he was saying that a long time ago, but he definitely changed his tune later on, and he also changed his tune about AIs, for example, okay? So more nonsense there. Then it says, men who are experiencing mild symptoms of testosterone deficiency and who are not ready to undergo prescription TRT might consider an over-the-counter alternative like Biotest's Alpha Male. Unlike actual testosterone replacement, Alpha Male will not cause your testicles to go dormant. Instead, it will coax your pituitary gland and testicles into making more testosterone. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't it interesting when somebody says this is bad and this is dangerous and they're all doing it wrong and blah, 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 blah. And towards the end, what you could do is buy our product, our testosterone booster. Guys, like, can you please, and then he provides these references here. And I know these references. We've gone through these so many damn times in the group. And from 2000 and 2001, we've gone through these, okay? You're fear-mongering people about testosterone, probably trying to convince them that they really need to take a small dose. So they get on TRT, they take your advice, they take this tiny little dose, they feel like crap, and they're like, oh, I have all these side effects. TRT is not for me. Let me go buy myself a nice big tub of Alpha Male. Okay, where's your evidence that Alpha Male works? Where's your evidence that stimulates the pituitary? And in what way does it promote stimulation of LH and FSH, and on and on? What levels are people getting of their free T with Alpha Male? Can you demonstrate a before and after of their levels? And do they have perfect symptom resolution after? Sorry, guys. I looked into this stuff left, right, and center because I didn't want to get on TRT because I was afraid of taking testosterone, I was afraid of taking estrogens, and I tried all the freaking products out there. And guess what? None of them work. There is no harm in taking testosterone. There isn't. You want my proof? Go find any teenage boy. Go find any teenage boy. Testosterone levels through the roof. Does he have prostate cancer? Are teenage boys taking an AI to block their estrogen? And do they have sleep apnea and high hematocrit and all these other things? Their testosterone's high. How come they're all dropping dead? I got 2 teenage boys downstairs. They're doing really well. They look really good too. Why don't they have issues? Why is it now that if I would have the same level as them, suddenly I have to worry about all this stuff from this article? Guys, use your heads. Use critical thinking. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm not. I have no product to sell you. All I want is you guys to have the right information. I want you to think critically. I want you to use your head, okay? And this stuff is nonsense, okay? If any of you challenge that is not nonsense, join our Facebook group, TRT and Hormone Optimization. It's free. There's no admission. Anybody can join. Go in. You can find the article, make a post in the group, and you can state why what I'm saying perhaps is wrong. Provide your evidence. Send me a message, Danny Bossa, on Facebook, and you can explain why, again, with evidence, because I can provide you a hell of a lot of evidence that this is all nonsense. Christian, I'm really disappointed. I really looked up to you when I started off. You've been around for a long time. Just like a lot of other guys out there. And again, I'm not going to go into all the other names. I have a lot of other names, but I don't know why you try to mislead people with this kind of stuff. And again, if you think I'm wrong, please go ahead and take your 40 milligrams a day, and we'll do this online. We'll do a Zoom online where you're going to agree to do this. I'm going to want weekly labs, and no, I'm sorry, but no, you don't look the way you look at 40 milligrams a week. All right. Sorry. No, it's just, I read this stuff and I get frustrated. Like you see that vein like popping out of my forehead. Like, I can't, anyway.
Yeah. Same thing here, Danny. I have been reading T Nation for over more than a decade, 15, maybe 20 years. And yeah, I also looked up to Christian Thibaudeau for his training and nutrition advice as well. I never really read hormonal advice or whatever from him, but all the articles on T Nation, not only his, always end by wanting to sell you something from their web store.
Yeah.
It always goes like that.
Yeah. You know, Christian, what you could be doing is like, hey, there's some of you that don't want to jump into TRT just yet. Maybe you're afraid of injections. Maybe you're afraid of this, if you want to try this and see if it helps you out. If it helps you out, great. But it's just a testosterone booster, and this is the best that we can do without jumping on TRT. But if you feel good with that, then fine, But to basically fearmonger about testosterone, about all these effects, about blood cancers and prostate issues, don't do that. Instead, buy it's just maddening. It's just misleading people about prostate issues and all this other stuff. You know, yes, you're gonna get your testicles will shut down on TRT. Yeah, it happens. There's a number of things you can do. You could take HMG, you can take HCG. There's even a peptide called kisspeptin that apparently works even better than those two by actually stimulating the pituitary to stimulate production of LH and FSH naturally. And you can do that while you're on TRT, and that's fine. Okay, there's a number of things that you can do. But a lot of guys getting on TRT tend to be doing it when they're a little bit older and they're not really feeling that great. They've probably already had their kids. And the fact that their testicles might shrink a little bit, who cares? Mine shrunk, has not changed my life whatsoever, guys. Not whatsoever. Would I stop TRT right now to go try the alpha male? Absolutely not. Is it a great product? Hey, maybe. Try it out and try, you know, see what you can get on it. There is no way it's going to compare to taking exogenous testosterone. There's no way. Like, there is no way. So that's about all I got to say on the subject.
Okay, Danny, I really hope Christian is going to see this video. Be sure to share it on the T-Nation forums.
Yeah. And Christian, si jamais tu veux faire une vidéo avec moi sur ma chaîne pour te montrer tout ce qu'on vient de parler, je le ferai avec plaisir. OK? On pourrait le faire ensemble. I was just saying, Christian, if you want to do a video online to explain your evidence as to why, I'd be happy to do one. I'd be happy to bring other doctors involved. Maybe he's going to say, hey, this is blowing my mind. I didn't know about this stuff. This is just something I read on the T-Nation forum that I'm a part of. I'd be happy to educate, but this is demonstrably false information. And that's it.
Très bien. Merci beaucoup, Danny. À la prochaine.
Merci, Steven.